Well, hello, friends. Mark Holmes here with my buddy Cowboy Joe Boo. And as always, thank you guys for watching, commenting, and subscribing to the Joe Boo Sports Report. Without you guys, we know this doesn't work. And we've made it through Tuesday. So tomorrow already is a hump day. Thank God this week is going to be going by fast. And let's make sure we're open for business. Now I got a question for Cris Carter. Cris, do you just hate the Dallas Cowboys? Did the Cowboys steal something from you? Were you like Stephen A. Smith, who had a girlfriend who was a Cowboys fan that jilted you? Or are you just trying to be the next Stephen A. Smith, knowing that Stephen A. Smith is popular because he hates the Cowboys, or at least appears to hate the Cowboys? Because I got to tell you, every time I've seen Stephen A. Smith, when the cameras are off with Cowboy fans, he's high-fiving them. He high-fived Joe Boo. Yeah. But he knows that if you talk about the Dallas Cowboys, people are going to watch. Because Cowboy fans will go off and say, can you believe what that idiot Cris Carter said about the Cowboys? Or you'll get other people who hate the Cowboys say, yeah, Cris, way to talk about those Cowboys. I hate them. I'm just trying to figure out what it is, because no matter what the Dallas Cowboys do, you always say it's the wrong move. I mean, 2016, you're talking about that Dez Bryant was terrible. He's a bum. The Cowboys need to get rid of him. Cowboys get rid of him. Now, you and your show are talking about the Cowboy wide receivers are below mediocre. Dak Prescott, he's just a fourth-round quarterback, even though the numbers bear out that when you look at him versus other quarterbacks at this time in their career, he's above average. The fact that in 100 or better QBR games, percentage-wise, there's Aaron Rodgers at 55, there's Dak Prescott at 50, and there is nobody else above 50. Tom Terrific is 47. Carson Wentz is only 33%. But be that as it may, okay, again, he's only starting his third year. But when you start talking about the receivers, let's slow down for a second. Let's analyze it just a little bit, because here's something you got to realize. Because, when you say that they're below mediocre or practice squad guys, David Irving was the practice squad guy for Kansas City. But you brought him into a system that fit his skill set. And all of a sudden you see the potential. Now he's got to stay healthy and stay out of trouble. But you see the potential. People do get in trouble and turn their careers around. And a lot of times you have players, because of the situations that are in, that they're on a bad team, that they're bad as well. After DeMarco Murray wasn't re-signed, went to Philadelphia, got that stank all over him from the Eagles, the Cowboys looked at Darren McFadden. Darren McFadden, when the Cowboys talked about signing him, a lot of you talking heads are like, he's a bum. He's washed up. Dude can't run. And by the numbers you looked at, the last 3 years he was in Oakland, 3.3 yards a carry, I think 3.3, 3.4, the last 3 years. Not exactly anything to write home about. But I looked at it and I said, you know what, here's the problem with Darren McFadden, and he had an injury problem. If you went back and looked at the tape, you would notice one thing. The offensive line with Oakland stunk. He wasn't the only one that was doing terrible in Oakland running the ball. It was everybody. And generally speaking, as soon as he got the ball, the hole maybe was supposed to be over here, but there's a guy in his face, a defensive lineman, a 300-pound plus guy. Now, I've got to make a move immediately, and here's another 300-pound guy in the backfield. So now you've got all these big guys that are falling on top of a little guy. Hence, when you get 3 or 4 guys that are 300 pounds, you get 1,000 plus pounds falling on you. Generally speaking, you're not going to stay healthy for too long. But I said, that's when I came up with the formula that the Great Wall of Dallas equals +1. That with the offensive line that the Cowboys have, when healthy, will take a running back and add a yard more per carry. And you know what? That held true for Darren McFadden, because then, that first year in Dallas, even though we couldn't throw the ball, he had over 1,000 yards. 4.7 yards per carry. A whole 1.2 yards more than his average had been the last 3 years. Why? Because the Cowboys' offensive line gave him a chance to get upfield. When he was getting hit, he wasn't getting hit by 3 big-ass guys falling on him. He was getting hit by linebackers. He's getting side blows. He's getting less of those big pileups, which helped him through the season to stay from keep getting hurt. That's a change of scenario. You can look at Steve Young, who had bust written all over him in Tampa Bay. Nobody thought Steve Young was going to be in the Hall of Fame. Did you think he was going to be in the Hall of Fame after seeing him in Tampa Bay? A lot of you probably don't even know that he started out in Tampa Bay. But he went to a system and a team that elevated him. And that happens a lot. So when we start looking at Jacksonville and the Rams, where we got Hearns and things, and Austin from, the Rams passing offense in 2014 was 23rd. They were 32nd in 2015, 31st in 16, and this past year was the best year that they've had in forever. They were ranked 10th, averaging 7.8 yards per completion. So clearly, nobody exactly was breaking out. It wasn't like he was getting Tom Brady throwing to him. It was a bad situation on a bad team with Mike Fisher, who had become a bad coach. When we look at Hearns, who was in Jacksonville, with the exception of last year, Jacksonville stunk. Jacksonville in 2014 was 31st in passing offense. His best season, by the way, you guys said that we don't have any receivers that have had 1,000 yards. In 2015, he actually had 1,081 yards. They were actually 10th, averaging 7.3 yards per completion. But 2016, they went back to 20th. And in 2017, they were 17th in passing. So clearly, these guys were in a bad system with a bad team receiving. That's not to say that they're going to end up being fantastic, but you have to at least give them the benefit of the doubt. And I know when you start looking at, say, the first years amount of completions, I mean, when you look at 5 completions the first year for 84 yards, and then 39 completions the second year for 761 yards, and then the third year, 45 catches for 605 yards, fourth year, 27 catches for 413 yards. I mean, clearly, that's just average. In fact, that might be what you're talking about below mediocre. I mean, that's clearly not Hall of Fame numbers. I mean, we're talking 4 years, and you got, 120 catches? About 35 catches a year? That stinks. Clearly, not Hall of Fame numbers. Oh, wait. Those are Hall of Fame numbers. Because, Chris, that was your numbers your first 4 seasons. Your first 3 years, you start out in Philadelphia where you had some drinking problems. And I understand you were in a bad system with Buddy Ryan, who basically took Randall Cunningham and just said, make some shit up and just throw the ball or run. I understand that that's partially why those numbers would stink those first 3 years in Philadelphia. Everything stinks in Philadelphia. You might want to clean the place up some. But then you went to Minnesota, and your first year you only got 27 catches. But then your 5th year, you finally got it. You had 72 catches in 91, your 5th year. But it wasn't until your 7th year in the NFL that you had a 1,000-yard season. So understand, when you're talking about guys that are mediocre, about guys that are worthless, buddy, that was you. Before the light switch came on, before you got the right system, the right coaches, and the right players around you. Once that happened, then things turned around. 93, you had 86 receptions. The next year, 122, 96, 89, 78. Because you were finally in a system that suited your strengths. You had good players around you with good coaching. So isn't that a possibility for an Austin or a Hearns, that now that the Dallas Cowboys hopefully have their offensive line together, that Dak Prescott will be having people block for him as opposed to seeing Claiborne get 6 sacks on him, getting sacks 8 times in a game? I just want to at least be fair and balanced. I know I'm a Dallas Cowboy fan, die hard. I'm a homer. But I'm not blind, and I'm not going to go ahead and just say everything is hunky-dory perfect with the Dallas Cowboys. I'm realistic. At least be realistic with our Cowboys as opposed to constantly always saying everything in Dallas sucks. That's all I ask. Some of you guys, I tell you. I'm Mark Holmes. This is Cowboy Joe Boo, and I'll see you guys soon.